Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and today I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Aries. If Aries is your solar, lunar, ascendant/rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. Ooh. Okay, knock, knock, knock. What do you have for us today? I'm kind of in a good mood. It's Friday. It's a 3-day weekend. And the weather is not terrible. Okay, let's see. I'm going to hold this away. Ooh. Okay. It looks like we might be dealing with a bit of a broken heart of some kind here. Let's see. It looks like, and I think you can probably see it, we have this pretty large, not massive, but it is a bit of a large heart, and it looks like it is just kind of ripped in half there. And I'm gonna just start off too right at the beginning. We have this card. It is the 7 of Discs. This is the Thoth deck. So this one is related to failure. Yeah. I don't know if this is the failed relationship, if there is a sense of failure going on, and maybe that's not exactly the reality. It's just kind of the vibe that you have, the kind of mental state, but we're going to see, okay? So it looks like you're working with a little bit of a uneasy heart, a bit of a broken heart, maybe, not feeling the best today, Aries. Okay, and I'm sorry for that. That stinks. But you know what? The other part is that we just had Valentine's Day. And maybe you're watching this way in the future, and it's not Valentine's Day at all. But I will say, if you are watching this when it comes out, we've just had Valentine's Day. And I feel like as much of a holiday that is of love, amor, eros, it's also a lot of disappointment, expectations that just do not get met, and a lot of breakups going on around this time of year. And I think partially that's because I keep telling not because we're breaking up, but I keep telling my husband, because we have just encountered some really unkind, some really just nasty, mean, vindictive-y, just saying terrible things. It just, really just, I don't know, just not nice people. And I'm like, it's February. Everybody's just kind of like, ugh, and I think that it has to do with the breakups and stuff too. People just get into a funk this time of year, I think. So, we have to just, I feel like it's just so important to work on our mental health, our spiritual stuff, our interior work, socializing, if that's what helps. For me, that's the opposite of what helps. But, doing the things that make us happy and keep us well, and, sticking to that stuff. Okay, now I want to look at, we have this little deer here, okay, and here's the head. It's kind of gazing towards the sky, and it looks like it's maybe a younger deer, and I think that because the ear looks big, and I think of, like young deer with the like floppy ears. So I feel like maybe something has come to an end. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be a relationship with family, with a platonic friend with somebody, you know, that's more of an acquaintance, but it's really affected you. I'll share my little thing really quick. My little example. It makes me sad just thinking about it. My daughter, had her first encounter with another kid that was being mean to her. And oh my goodness, it broke my heart. I did not realize how in my feelings I was going to get witnessing somebody, you know, one of her peers. I mean, this kid was a little older, but one of her peers basically just being mean. And she knew, you know, she's like almost 3, and she knew that they were being mean to her. She said, "It made me upset, Mommy." And I was so sad. So, I mean, this could be the heartbreak, you know, it could be any kind of situation like this. Now we're looking at this deer, this young deer. What does a young deer bring to mind? You know, being naive, full of wonder, really, sometimes kind of aimless, but, maybe a little bit vulnerable. Okay. And I think that this has a lot to do with your, has a lot to do with this feeling of love that is going on in your life. I feel like this, whatever has happened, whatever thing somebody did or said, or, you know, you decided to step away from a relationship of some kind, I feel like it's made you feel very, like very vulnerable. And in some ways it kind of almost seems like maybe a little bit alone. I think about the image of like a little tiny, you know, baby deer just kind of, you know, when their moms leave them for a little while and they come back, they're not like abandoning them, but they, you know, they roll up into a little ball and they kind of hang out and hide because they're easy prey. And, you know, their moms go and look for food and whatnot, and then they come back to them and get them. But they, you know, they're so, they look, when you see pictures of that, they look so scared and defenseless. And I kind of feel like you are feeling this way. You're feeling like this really kind of was almost like a bit destabilizing. And maybe you didn't think that it was going to be to that degree. And maybe it's not even so much about how involved that relationship was, but it kind of is triggering a sense of, you know, well, old things that come up. It could be like abandonment, feeling a little bit neglected, feeling a little bit adrift, not having a lot of confidence in yourself or how people care for you or perceive you, or, you know, their loyalties to you, all of these kind of things. And that's normal. Those feelings come up for all of us when we go through a friend breakup, a falling out with family members, or, you know, a romantic partner. I think that's totally a normal kind of sensation, feeling to have, okay? Now, the thing is, we have to try not to dwell in that place for too long. And while we're in these vulnerable places, it gives us, I think, the opportunity to, you know, how do I want to say it? It gives us the opportunity to experience, you know, high sensitivity. Also to examine maybe not just about why did this relationship go wrong? What was the situation? What was the, you know, scenario and catalyst for this thing to happen? But also, you know, to look at how are you feeling? How, well, you know, why are you feeling these things? What things do and can you do to help manage some of those feelings? I think, you know, in these times of pain, and of course we shouldn't analyze stuff too much while we're going through the actual trauma or the difficult situation. But once you start to get out on the other side of it, I think they're very important life events that help us learn so much about ourselves. Okay. And hopefully will help us to break patterns in the people we choose, how we communicate with them, how we treat ourselves, how we treat other people, and especially boundary setting. I think for me, that's the big thing, is when things go south with people, it's always a good time for me to examine, like, where were my boundaries with this person? Did I let them do and say things that made me feel outside of how I feel comfortable? Or did they make me, did they not honor me as a being? Did I not honor them as a being? And if so, why? Why did I do that? Why did I allow that to happen to me? And especially if it's like a continued overstepping type of thing. So I think it's, this is a good point. Once you start to feel a little bit better and a little stronger about things, I think it's a good point to use that vulnerability, that kind of open-eyed, wide-eyed deer in the headlights or whatever. Hopefully not in the headlights. Okay. But you know what I mean. I think that you are more receptive in these moments. Okay. So, protect yourself, protect your peace, surround yourself with people who are going to support you and love on you and, help you get through this thing. But, also, I think it's totally a wonderful time to really look at some of that stuff and write it down, journal it, paint it, make music out of it, whatever it is, your process, for documenting this stuff, for beginning the process of processing. I think that is also so important. Okay. And especially like the journaling and that kind of stuff, I think is good. Not because you want to keep coming back and dwelling on it, but it's important to remember how you were feeling and how you're perceiving things to happen in that moment versus in retrospect, right? Because our memories we kind of smooth over the edges. We remember sometimes all of the bad things, not a lot of the good, or we remember all of the good and not the bad, right? And it really depends sometimes on the day. That can go back and forth for sure. So I think, documenting it is definitely important. Okay. And I wanted to look at some of the letters I'm seeing in here. I see a T. Okay. And I saw another T here. So I think that we have a T person. Okay. There's somebody with a T name. We also have a couple of, let me make sure. Yes, a couple of P's. We have a P here and a P here. Okay, so, and I think this P person is maybe somebody who might be like a future friend or relationship person, because I'm also seeing this little arrow right here, right above this P. And I think that there is some kind of mutual attraction to either being close friends or romantic partners. Okay. And I think that this person is somebody that you probably already know. Okay. This isn't like somebody that's just going to come into your life soon. I think they're already in your orbit for sure. Okay. And I get the impression that you really are such a loving person, and you love love. You love to be in love. You love to be loved, right? And I think that you really have this strong desire to make a to make a connection with somebody. Again, it doesn't have to be romantic, okay? But it can be. It could be either. We can have really good friends that we love so much, and they really, are the people that we commune with often and make us feel secure and remind us of, who we are and why we live our lives, and, but it could also be a sense of wanting a romantic partner as well. Okay. And I think that there's really, really an intense kind of energy that you kind of have with that. So I almost wonder, and I'm asking myself this because I look at that T, but then I turned it and it almost kind of looks like a reproductive system, like a biological female reproductive system. Okay. And so I kind of almost wonder, I don't know that it's just about reproducing. It could be, but I wonder if you are getting to a part of your life where there's some kind of change, and you don't have to have these body parts, okay? It doesn't matter what you identify with, obviously. It could be, masculine, feminine, anywhere in between, or other. But I think that this coincides with this kind of, it makes me think that there's something going on in your life where you feel like, okay, I'm getting older, or this is going to be the perfect time for me. I've done all this other work. Maybe you've, done the career work, or you've gone to school, or you've gotten married, or I don't know, like me, I low key hope and pray I'm going through menopause going into menopause soon. But you get older and it's like, I'm probably not going to have any more kids, or, obviously not obviously, you maybe don't know how old I am, but, I'm still at an age where I have probably quite a few more years, at least 5 more years where I can maybe have a kid, but another one, but likely not. Okay, so anyways, I know I'm getting all uncomfortable just talking about that, but let's see. Anyways, so you might be getting to an age where you start to think, okay, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it soon. And I know that there have been a lot of us. I had my daughter when I was, I think, 35. So, I'm so worn out all the time that it's you, and you just, when you're younger, maybe you aren't as worn out. I don't know. But, you start to get to a point in your life where it's like you gotta pull the trigger pretty soon, right? Or maybe you are post childbearing and now you're looking for different dynamics in your relation. Maybe that whole part of it is just you don't even think about that so much anymore. So I think though that I get the impression, I don't want to leave anybody out of this reading, but I do get the impression that there is some sort of underlying, what am I trying to say? There's some sort of underlying kind of focus on this, maybe wanting to have a kid, or you already have kids, or you don't want to. I don't know. But this is going to be integral to this next relationship that you might be going into. If it's romantic. I mean, hey, it could be with somebody that you're platonic with too. I don't know. But, I think that this is an aspect of it. The family dynamic is something that is on your mind, I believe. And I also think that, I feel that and this doesn't even really, as I'm thinking about it, it doesn't really even have to be about having a kid, or maybe you have kids and you're worried about meeting somebody. Are they going to get along with my kids? Okay, maybe it's not even about that. Maybe it's just a sense of family that you are looking for. Okay, and that would make sense too if you, at any age, and if it's somebody who is platonic, or you know, reestablishing relationships with family members that maybe you are estranged from, or you just grew apart from, or, you know, whatever it is. So, I think, you know, ultimately the big thing here for you is that in this heartbreak that you're going through right now, it is kind of amplifying this desire to have unconditional love in your life, productive love in your life, enduring love in your life, a deeper sense of love, not just some flaky thing or surfacey thing, but somebody who really can see you, somebody that you can really show yourself to. Okay, and that they're going to accept you for who you are, and you can accept them for who they are, you know. And I think that's something that we all want. It's not easy to find, though. It's hard to find, but even harder to maintain, cultivate, maintain, and continue to let that thing grow over a long period of time. So, you know, it's a rarity in life. And, you know, when you find it, you're very lucky. And, you know, you take care of it. You take care of that relationship. And here comes my cat. I've been trying to put them away to keep them off of this table, but somehow he snuck in here. All right, so let's see. What else do we have? What else do we have? Oh, where did you go, goat? I saw that there was a beautiful little goat here. Okay, here we go. We have this, stay away from my saucer, mister. Go on. I don't know where to put it. Okay, so we have this beautiful little goat here. Pudgy, pudgy, pudgy. I'm going to stick it up here. You stay away from my saucer. All right. My goodness, these animals. If it's not an animal, it's a kid. If it's not a kid, it's an animal. Sometimes it's a husband. All right, here we go. This beautiful goat. Look at that posture. Chest up, head up, straight. I think we're just really dealing with this very much strong energy, or strong leader energy, head of the family, head of the life, you know, just really, I think that during this time of a bit of romantic or, you know, platonic peril, relationship peril, there's really this part of you that is so strong. You know, you're the ram, and this one's a goat. It could be a ram, we could pretend. But so much alike, you know, the ram and the goat. A lot of people get them mixed up even. But I think that you really have this, like, you know, just fortified part of self that is just really going to take care of you, going to lead you through this, get you up the side of that steep cliff side, right? And stand just right there on the edge of it with the chest up, looking over all of these ordeals you've been through recently, okay? And you're going to triumph, and you know you're strong. I know you're strong, and I know that it's going to, you know, pass over. It all passes. It all passes. And let it flow over you. Let it, you know, let it sweep away the things that don't need to stay, and, you know, what's left intact, you just, you know, you pick that stuff up and you keep going. You just, you know, fortify self and you know what? It sucks. It's hard to go through any kind of breakup. I get it. Or loss. Or, you know, especially like the family stuff is difficult. Now, I want to look at this one. This is really interesting to me. It looks to me like the opening of like a cave. I usually think of this as like being like a place of contemplation, a place that you go to fortify yourself. Think of like the hermit's cave on the mountain, or some kind of, you know, natural temple, somewhere to seek refuge. And I think that that's very much what this is about. And I also think that right above here, this is really pretty. It looks like a cloud, right? It almost looks like a cloud. It kind of almost looks like some kind of vehicle. And I think that it also, if we turn it this way, it looks like a person kind of driving it. And I really think that this has so much to do with, and I'm thinking of these like kind of Vedic imageries, or like I think it's maybe like the Japanese Buddhist kind of artwork. With the like kind of coiled clouds and stuff. And these gods and, you know, elemental deities riding on the winds and riding on the rain clouds and this kind of thing. And I think that really it's just so much about you being the one that controls your emotions, your reactions, coming into mastering parts of self in these times of tribulation, really making, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning, making this work for you, working this heartbreak for yourself, and really you know, making use of it, making it productive in some way, and learning from it, fortifying from it, maybe finding some of the things that are triggering for you, how some of your emotional reactions manifest, your coping mechanisms, and just fine-tuning some of that stuff. Okay, and that's, you know, that's all we can do. Just incremental little works on ourselves. And I think that that's really, it's so much about that. And I think that you already are so good at feeling your emotions, letting yourself feel them. A lot of people are not, but I think that you are. I think that you know, you have the ability to maybe sometimes get lost in those feelings, but I think that you really, really are also aware of that. You're not, you know, you're a very self-aware person. So I think that going to these places of spiritual solitude, fortification, where you're going to heal and cultivate yourself, I think that you really should think about doing that. If that means going to church, going to like a physical space that is sacred to you, or, you know, going to the water, going to the ocean, going to the forest, doing rituals. It could be in your own living space, you know, whatever it is. I think playing out some of those things, doing those physical actions will also help. Okay, that's what ritual ceremony is for. It helps unlock parts of ourselves that we otherwise maybe, you know, we can think about it, but and, you know, write it down on paper, and, you know, try to do some of the techniques and stuff of talk therapy or whatever. And those are all good things, but I think also doing some of the ritual and ceremony is very, very valuable too, because there's a physical aspect to moving your body, feeling things, experiencing things that's unlike anything else. Okay. And what was I also going to talk about? I just had it in my head. I was also thinking, though, this goes along with this idea of doing ritual ceremony. So releasing things, releasing these emotions, cleansing your house is a good example too. Cleansing, smudging, doing, feng shui or, things like this. But also, I think another thing that you can also implement while having a broken heart that's really helpful, in my opinion, having gone through periods of really deep grief at points, is the active imagination. And you can look that up on Google. That is a Jungian, I mean, it's used by a lot of people, different people now, but yeah, it's a Jungian invention, shall we say, or he coined the term. Active imagination or just visualization in general, okay? And so, while doing these kinds of practices, you could do things like, and let me give you some examples here, going through conversations, how you would have wanted them to go, or how you will, confront a conversation or whatever, planning it. This is kind of like, if you have a presentation, going through, and practicing your presentation, but you don't necessarily have to actually physically get up and recite it. You can do this in your brain, okay, in your mind, in your mind's eye. That's an example. Another example is if this thing has already kind of happened, thinking about going to places that are calming for you, right? Doing breath work, but also starting to think about what it is that you actually want going forward, being very honest with yourself about that, thinking about those places, thinking about the things. A good example of doing something like this is thinking about an empty room or an empty house. This is your new house. This is your new life or new chapter. This is how you will arrange your new rooms. And what are some sacred things that you'll bring into these spaces? What are some meaningful things? Why do they have meaning to you? What do they represent? What hopes and aspirations are they tied to? Okay, and then you fill your home with this is a home in your mind. What do you fill your home with? Okay, and how do you interact with these items? Other things, visualizing the kind of partner you want, the kind of friendship you want, the kind of family you want, whatever it is. And getting to know this person and this is a fine line between fantasy and this active imagination, okay, or visualization. I'm not necessarily saying go and, have a complete fantasy life and abandon your real life or anything like that, but I think it's good to think about the things you want. Start to really think about how they look, how do they feel, what do they sound like? What do they smell like? What are your impressions? And then when you really can start to get into these modes, they'll start to almost bring you information that you yourself already have, but it comes up in a way that feels like it's more like a revealing, okay? And you might start to make connections in your in these places that you wouldn't really have in a regular waking life setting, okay? And this is where we can work out some of those big feelings that we have, the anger, the sorrow, abandonment, neglect, and start to also figure out, how do we foresee our life being? What are we willing to do? How are we going to do it? And also, what are we absolutely not going to let happen? Or, what am I not going to put up with anymore? When you can play out these situations in your mind a little bit, I think it's much easier to stay the course with those boundaries that you come up with in your in your psyche. Okay. Here, I love to give examples, but here's one for me. When I was doing this work, and I still do this kind of work, this active imagination, visualization. Sorry, oh my goodness. But things like if and when I have another relation, this is when I was single, before I met my husband, I will never be with somebody that I will call names or who will call me names. And, hand to God, my husband and I do not ever call each other names. Ever. It's not something we do. When we argue, we argue in other ways, but we're very restrained in how we talk to each other because we respect each other. And, sometimes you can't unsay things, but that was a big boundary for me. No name calling. And because I implemented and discovered and then implemented this boundary in my visualization work. I'm sorry, my cat's up here cleaning herself. Let me put this over here. It was something that I've stuck to, and I absolutely will not put up with it, and I will not put up with myself doing it either. So that is something that I've feel very proud of. It's a lot. It's hard work to get to that point in life. Okay, so anyways, let me just get to this here. I feel like, and this is almost kind of silly here. This one looks like a little face, and now it's not doing it, but it had the little T on it. It was kind of moving back and forth. So I think that there is a sense of, your emotions going up and down. You're having definitely, I feel like you are going through some amount of grieving. You're going through, the different parts of that, the cycle of grieving, the different stages. And if this is like a very profound loss or maybe a little bit more of a minor one, that doesn't matter. You still feel what you feel. And I think that the real important thing here is just allowing yourself to feel it. And like I said, letting those feelings wash over you. Okay. And let it take away the things that are not serving you anymore. Okay. And I think that that's really going to be so important here in these weeks coming up. And I think that, just really trying to make an effort to do maybe some of these things we talked about, or finding techniques that work for you. Maybe you've already, you already have some, and you can just really focus on doing some of those things. And I'm sorry that you're feeling the way that you're feeling, but I feel like this card, this failure card, is not a failure of a relationship or of you're a failure in love, but I feel like it's just a feeling that you're carrying with you. Okay. And I feel like you can take this and burn it. Okay. We can take it and burn it. And, do not internalize that feeling too deeply. What is it I heard on something the other day? And I don't know that you were rejected or anything, or maybe you did a rejecting, or maybe it was a mutual decision, but rejection, I heard somebody say rejections are, what is it? Rejections are like God's gift to you, or God's defense. Yes, rejections are God's defense for you. Okay. So, in the moment, it may seem like a big loss, and maybe it is still kind of a big loss, but those moments when something doesn't work out for us, it's for a reason. And, sometimes we just have to lean on that greater unknowing force, unknowable force, that the universe has a plan for us to some extent, and that some things are out of our control, and sometimes for our own good, even if we don't realize that yet. So anyways, thank you, Aries. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm always so honored to bring these messages to you. If you would be so kind as to like the video, it helps me get into the algorithm. If you haven't already, please think about subscribing to the channel, hitting the little bell, and you know, that will bring you notifications, I think, to see the videos that are coming out. What else? Oh yes. If you would be if you would feel so moved to leave a comment. I love hearing from each and every one of you. You are all so wonderful, and yeah, you make my day. You know, you can leave a little criticism, but don't be mean. Like I was telling you, my goodness, people are just in a crabby mood lately, and even my husband's had some mean messages on his thing, and I'm like, oh no, I won't stand for that. So anyways, it's silly, but you know, I don't know. People just sometimes, I guess, need to get out that poison that they are carrying around. So, you know, to each their own. But yeah, thank you. We will see you again in 12 days. In the meantime, you can watch your other placements. So if this is your solar sign, go look at your lunar, ascendant / rising, or Venus placement. Okay, thank you so much.